Hello, everyone. Welcome. All right. There we go. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Brenna from Genially. Welcome to the 9th edition of our webinar series in which we are discovering the Genially universe. In past editions, if you've joined us, we've seen an overview of the platform. We've spoken about interactivity, remote working, infographics, and integration as well. Today, we're going to focus on an awesomely creative way to solve our day-to-day problems, which is design thinking. So today, we are very lucky to have Walter Maes joining us. Walter, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Brenna. Yes, thank you. I have more than 15 years of experience in the areas of training, change, and knowledge management, mainly in Europe with companies like Airbus and Caterpillar. Also studied psychology, specializing in the organizational context, but also have studies in the marketing and educational areas. During the last 5 years, I also have been interested in the power of what we call the visual information, the way we can use image or have the visual impact on the information, the knowledge, or even the emotions that we can produce on others with a visual way of working.
Great. Sounds very interesting. Thank you so much for joining us today. Very excited about this webinar. And thank you, of course, to all of you as well who are joining us, those of you watching us live, and those of you who are watching the recording later. So let's get started. I am going to start sharing my screen. Okay. Hopefully you can all see my screen well. Perfect. So as I mentioned, today we are going to talk about design thinking. So some of the things that we will discuss today are what is design thinking? We'll see what advantages it has and why it's a methodology that more and more companies and teams all around the world are starting to adopt. We will analyze the phases of design thinking, and we're also going to look at some techniques for applying it. Our expert guest, Walter, will also tell us about his experience with design thinking. And then after, we'll have a practical portion in which we will use a Genially template to discover how to apply design thinking in our daily lives. And then, of course, at the end, we are going to answer your questions live. We also remind you that whenever you have doubts, you can send them to us on social media by using the hashtag AskGenially. Okay? So first, what is design thinking? There really isn't one unique definition for design thinking, since it is a strategy. It's an idea. We could describe it as a methodology that, making use of design tools, makes creative problem solving easier in a way that is both innovative and person-centered, person-centric. So this methodology really kind of brings together or sits at the convergence of, let's say, analytical thinking. So this is convergent thinking, which makes decisions, and intuitive thinking or divergent, which is more centered on the creation of options. So within it, creativity and empathy are mixed together with more rational thinking. With the goal of reaching an innovative response, which is useful for our users, but while also meeting the technical and the financial requirements that our project could have. So thanks to design thinking, we can provide innovative solutions to situations that we could face in our daily lives. And we're really putting the focus on three main aspects here. And that is the people's necessities. So we look for a desirable solution. The business requirements, so that it is a financially viable solution, and also the possibilities that technology provides us with. So this must be technologically feasible as well. All right. We are going to discover the benefits of design thinking by starting with a quote from Bruce Nussbaum, which says, "When people talked about innovation in the 90s, they really meant technology. When people talk about innovation in this decade, they really mean design." Okay, so this quote really shows how important design is to innovation. So for Bruce, this is really being that it's one and the same. So then I pose a few questions to you. Are you looking for innovation in your day-to-day life? Are you facing professional challenges that you want to successfully overcome? Do you want to get the highest performance out of your team? And do you need to, or do you feel the need to experiment with new ideas and new processes? So without a doubt, design thinking is for you. Since, of course, it's useful in any sector and in any environment. And as well, when we incorporate design into our way of working, the possibilities of success really do increase. Now, if we apply a thought process with the focus of a designer, we can revolutionize the way in which our startup, our agency, or even our classroom makes better strategic decisions. We can improve how we optimize our workflows or how we innovate in processes, services, or products, and thereby creating new solutions and even new blueprints for working, which are really going to just take you directly into the future. So in design thinking, as I mentioned before, we take the perspective of a designer. So being able to think like a designer requires us to strengthen some characteristics so that we can really let our creativity flow freely. So here are 5 aspects that will help us in this process. So first, collaborate. Whenever possible, focus your search for solutions together with people with different profiles than your own, because multidisciplinary teams will really help to achieve those innovative ideas. Okay. Strengthen your empathy. Put yourself in the shoes of the people that you are designing the solution for, as well as the people within your team. This is going to help you achieve an even better result. Okay. We can also apply storytelling. Transmit your ideas with a visual focus. Make use of visual metaphors. To do this, you can use icons, you can use images, or a well-cared-for narrative. The experience in that case is going to be much more gratifying and much more significant as well. Okay, and then trust. So be optimistic. In design thinking, we all have a place. We're all potential engines for change and for creation. So neither your budget nor the size of the problem you are facing really matters. So in this visual thinking that we have here about visual mapping, this was created by our collaborator, Philippe. This demonstrates really that believing in your own creativity is at the heart of innovation. So trusting in yourself, it's very important to design thinking. And then finally, experiment. So really here, we're just saying dive in headfirst, create different solutions, act and learn from your mistakes. So it isn't just about thinking, but it's also about creating. Really, in this way, we can ensure that the innovation process will be much more complete. All right, now, so when we're focused, when we have our minds set on design mode, we can center on the application of design thinking. And we can do this in different ways. One of them is by following these 5 iterative stages: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and evaluate. Walter, can you tell us a little bit how you manage this? Do you also follow these phases?
Well, yes. Design thinking, you can think about this as a very useful framework where you can employ a wide variety of tools that help big, medium, or small companies, but also educators or trainers to solve different problems that they face with their product or their services. For me, I like to consider this design thinking as a mental framework, because the greatest thing about this is that you must be centered in the person, as you mentioned previously. It is really important that in the case that you're planning a product, a system, implement an activity, whatever you want to do, you have to get this to a result. In this result, I mean to create a specific solution or service for a problem that the user has. If you don't think or focus all this process in the person who is going to receive the result, probably then you're going to face a high risk or failure with the product or the service that you're going to give to the customers. Okay. Also, I like to think that we cannot use this like a no-fail process. If you really want to get the best results, you have to be aware that the design thinking is a back-forward way of working. And as I said, to get the best results, you have to be open-minded, creative, and curious about all the actions you have to do to focusing in the final user. And also, while always a different way of working or activities are valid to get to refine and outline the results during all the design thinking process, for me, using a visual approach is the most powerful way to get design thinking as its best. Also, you can use design thinking to help aircraft builders to design the interior of the aircraft, the seats, or help the airlines for the process of boarding, etc. You can also design the training process, a learning solution. There are a lot of activities that you can where you can apply design thinking really.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Walter. So as you mentioned, when we're first maybe starting planning, that's kind of the first step to take, right? So once we have our planning ready, we can then move on to discover the different stages. And we can also see some tools or some methods that can help us in each of these phases. Okay. So here we have, for example, a calendar for planning. So the first step that we mentioned, the first phase, is empathize. When we focus our attention on our users, when we are worried about them, we are capable of coming up with innovative solutions that can really have an impact on their lives. Walter, can you tell us a little bit about the techniques that you use in this phase?
Oh, yes. Here we have to be clear that all the steps that we will follow during the design thinking process are important, really important. But this initial phase is crucial for the success of the whole process. Okay? Here you have to be like the user, or even better, you have to be the user. I mean, we have to collect all the information that we can about the person who is going to use our product or our service. How we can use it? Well, I love to use interviews, guiding them by visual templates like the empathy map or a customer journey, etc.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So for example, here we have some examples of templates in Genially that you could use, like the empathy map, as you mentioned, or this template to define your buyer persona, where you have maybe the questions that you used in your interview, and you could add those responses here and keep everything organized. Great. Thank you. So then continuing on to the second phase, we have define. So now is really when the time has come to focalize the problem. And by doing this, we will be able to see how to confront it by defining our objective. So this phase is essential for inspiring ourselves to find solutions, and by posing the problem in a way that is both significant, but also in a way that's able to be processed. Walter, how do you handle this phase?
Well, here is really important to organize all the information that we have collected and present it to the team, or to our colleagues in a very clear way. I like to use mind maps or different boards just to have all the information in the same place. In this phase, you will get a real idea of what is the problem or everything that is a pain or a gain for the end user.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So as you mentioned, we have some mind map templates where you could really use that technique, maybe a SWOT analysis as well. So we have a few different templates based on the strategies that you're mentioning to us. Thank you. So now let's move on to a very creative phase. So ideation. In this phase, you will have to create multiple ideas, as many as you can. And this way, you'll have really a full battery of options to choose from. And that way, you'll be able to detect better which is the most viable solution. Walter, before you maybe mentioned that this is one of your favorite phases, can you tell us a little bit more about this phase?
Yes, this phase is really where my colleagues or the team I'm working with get into the real action, where we take the information we have collected and organized in the previous step, And now, in this phase, we can start to think or design solutions to the problem or the issue that the user faces. Brainstorming, Lego are my favorite methods, but these are not methods that we can only use in these steps. We can use them in others, for example.
Cool. Great. So there's really a true sea of possibilities and ideas. Great. So moving on to the next phase, which is prototype. So now is really when we want to give our ideas some shape. Prototypes are the step that we take before coming up with a definitive solution. We can really experiment with our ideas. We can invent, we can build, we can communicate, identify different options. So here I think it's really important that we don't get stuck on validating, but instead that we are experimenting. A quick kind of prototype with simple and intuitive tools is really the key to doing this. Walter, how do you develop this phase?
Well, here we have the idea of what service of product we could have just to solve the pains or potentiate the gains to the end user. Here we can use a mockup, a model, a demo, everything that we can use to show it to the customer where he can touch it, manipulate, or have a clear idea of the service that we propose, depending on what we are working on. Yes, this is a real touchable thing that we can get to the customer.
Okay, perfect. So maybe an infographic. And when we were speaking previous to the webinar, of course, you mentioned maybe a video presentation would be a great kind of way to show that prototype to your client, right?
Exactly.
Cool. Great. All right. Fantastic. So then kind of to end that last quote unquote phase that we have here is to evaluate. So this is really when the time has come to see how our solutions are working out. This is when you can ask for opinions about your prototypes, either to members of your team or directly to the users. And this information is really valuable for refining your solutions or even bringing a whole new focus that could take you back to the very beginning of this iterative process of design thinking. So here, the contextualization, the scene setting are really key. We want to generate an immersive experience in order to help our audience understand the solution that we're proposing. What do you think about this phase, Walter?
Well, here, if you cannot test, if you cannot real the testing of your idea, you're losing your time. In all the previous steps, all the previous steps that we have done is just to have something to work with the customer and let it criticize the thing that we have proposed to him. With that, we have a really valuable feedback, and that we can use it to go back and modify our proposal. During all these steps, of course, you can or all can. I will say that you must really go back and forward, and with that, all the team really can sketch out or outline a real solution for the customer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Yeah, I think that's really important for everyone to know that this is not necessarily linear in one direction, right? We have to be flexible to kind of have this mindset and this way of thinking. All right, good. So with kind of these final touches on the phases, talking about some useful methods that Walter mentioned, we are going to step over to our practical portion. But first, Walter, I wanted to ask if you have any advice for those people who are watching us who might want to start with design thinking.
Well, yes, I mentioned that at the beginning, that if you really want to get the best results, you have to be aware that design thinking is a back-forward way of working. And as I said, to get the best results, you have to be open-minded, creative, and curious about all the actions you have to do, the steps that you have to follow, and focus, really focus on the final user.
Mm-hmm. All right, great. Well, Walter, thank you so much for sharing that advice, as well as sharing your knowledge with us. We are going to head over to the practical portion. Remember, those of you watching us, if you have any doubts or questions about what we're talking about today, feel free to put them in the chat. We do have one of my colleagues, or a few of my colleagues, are answering questions, but in a little while, we're also going to check the chat and see if Walter and I can answer any of those questions for you. All right, so now it's time to see how those of you who are watching us through the screen can make use of the full potential of Genially to really get the most out of design thinking. So once you've registered for Genially for free and you've signed in, you can access this creation panel here. Within these 12 categories, we have more than 1,000 templates available for you to use. So we've seen, when we were looking at those phases of design thinking, we showed you some of the amazing templates that you can use. And thanks to Walter as well for kind of explaining what type of templates he would use in certain phases. This time, today, what we're going to do is edit a horizontal infographic with notes, which is frequently used in design thinking. So I'm going to just scroll through my templates here until I find the one that I want to use. Here, this one. Remember that before choosing a template, when you're editing within Genially, you can preview it by clicking on that plus sign that appeared in the middle. You can preview the template, you can kind of click around. If it has various pages, you can explore them before deciding if that's a template that you want to use or not. So this is the template that I want to use, so I'm going to click on Use this template, and then it will open up within the editor. Perfect. So once we access the editor, it's really important that we begin by naming our creation so that we can find it back more easily in our panel at a later time. All right, so this one, I have the title here, is going to be called, and up here is where we name our creation. This one's called Design Thinking, Forced Connections Technique. Okay, that's what we're going to show you today. So today what we are going to apply is a technique known as forced connections. So I'm also going to put that name here in the table just by clicking on the text box. And I already have had my text written out, so I'm just copying and pasting. Walter, in the meantime, while I kind of copy and paste some text, can you tell us briefly about the objective of this kind of technique?
Well, yes, this technique is used to help to stimulate our creativity. We are going to use it now live, and I think that also the public will help us and give their ideas through the chat. As we are using it, and Brenna is going to show us the template, we can produce a group of different ideas. We can choose between those that could be more interesting for the product or the service that we are working on. We can use those ideas and apply them to the problem that exactly we have to solve. We will utilize one very basic example just to, we have the customer who has asked us for a new furniture or for his co-working space. The customer is not satisfied with the ones that he has found or in the market. Well, this is
Perfect.
what we have to do.
Great. So here as our subtitle, then we can have really clear what our objective is, right? This is from our client. I need a new seating space for my business. And let's say that kind of three adjectives, right, that the client used to describe what they're looking for is comfortable, aesthetic, and versatile.
Exactly. Those ideas, we begin with this. We choose some ideas that are important for the customer. In advance, we have to choose other ideas or concepts that are not related with. In this way, we can produce new and innovative ideas for solving the problem the customer has asked us to do.
All right, great. So then we have our three concepts here. What could we put together with these three ideas?
As you mentioned, these three concepts are really important for the customer. And the best is to mix or connect these concepts with another ones. Another ones that could be breaking, for example, breaking ideas. Mm-hmm. We can use real things like milkshake, a book, or another ones, like, for example, fictional ideas. For example, the tooth fairy, fairy good mother, or what do you think about the dragons?
I love dragons. I'm a fan of everything fantasy. So let's go with dragon for our first concept. Perfect. All right, so we have dragon. I like it. And for the second column?
We can use something powerful, for example, with big impact. For example, one superheroine, superpowers.
Okay, I like it. So we can say superhero, or let's do superheroine in this case. Perfect. Yep. All right, cool. So I think that with these two ideas, we will have enough to kind of show the objective. So I'm going to delete this third column. I'm just going to multi-select everything here, delete, and then I'm just going to select all of this and center it a little bit. Perfect. So really, you can kind of see as well how easy it is. Let's see, right there's good. How easy it is to edit these templates. If you wanted to add an additional column, you could do that. You could see in this case, as we did, we deleted a column so that our matrix is exactly how we want it to be. So we're going to use a 3x2 in this case.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right, so now it's ready to go. We have our matrix ready. Let's see kind of what ideas we can come up with.
Well, in this case, we have to think about what ideas come to our mind if we think about aesthetic of a dragon. Mm-hmm. What do you think? What we can get here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's think about ideas, and also I really want to encourage everyone that's watching. You can participate in the chat, and let's kind of see all together what we can come up with. I'm going to have a look at the chat now. So, any ideas when you think about the aesthetics of a dragon, right? The physical appearance of a dragon, what do you think of? Anybody have any ideas, something they want to throw out? For me, for example, I think about kind of bright green colors, maybe something like an iridescent color.
Yeah, it's a good, really great idea. What else?
Let's see. Maybe, yep, scales. Okay, I like that. Maybe wings.
Shiny.
Shiny, good. I like that. I'm just going back and forth to look at the chat. Scales, good. Thank you, Amelia. Shiny, okay.
Well, we can go about or think about what about comfort and a dragon.
Comfort and a dragon. Like the first thing that I think of is the dragon has fire, maybe heat.
Yeah.
Heat or warmth. Let's see. Fire, good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fire.
Right, good. I'm going to add bright up here in aesthetic because I had quite a few people in the chat saying bright. So let's add that. Ooh, claws. All right. What about for comfort? So we said heat, we said warmth. What else? Maybe sometimes a dragon can fly, right? Or they can swim. So what about something like space, floating?
Exactly, fly, as you mentioned. This is a really good idea. Finally, what is about versatility and dragons, for example? Just to continue with that column.
So a dragon and versatile. Maybe, for example, their size can be versatile, right? Depending on where you see that. Let me check the chat.
Yeah.
Ooh, protection for comfort. I like that.
Okay. Yeah, great idea.
I can check in the chat here.
All in one, for example, the dragon that can be in the land, in the sea, in the air.
That's good. I like that. All in one. So we're talking about sea, land, and air here. Cool. And maybe flexible. You know, when you see dragons in movies, they can have that long neck that they can move around. So
exactly.
Let's flexible. Okay, good. I think we got some good ideas here.
Yeah, great. And now we are going to the other column. For example, we can think about aesthetics and the superheroine. What ideas can suggest the audience, etc.? For example, the chat. You can see it.
Yep, I'm checking. Let's see. So now we're moved over to our second column. We're talking about a superheroine. The aesthetics. I personally, I think of a brightly colored kind of superhero uniform.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Let's see if anyone has any ideas here. So aesthetic and superheroine. Maybe strength. So I saw a few people mention that for, for the dragon as well.
Yep.
Great outfits. Yes, Patricia.
What do you have? We have the colorful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, we can continue with the other categories. For example, what is comfortable and superheroine? What ideas we can have in the chat for the customers?
So what do we think about when we think about a superheroine and comfort?
Yep.
Strong and positive. I like that. We added strength for aesthetic, but I think for comfort as well. Strong and positive. What about maybe thinking about like the what a superheroine would wear? I feel like her outfit should really be a resistant material and probably flexible as well, right? I'm imagining jumping and flying and doing flips.
Exactly. Yeah, making a lot of things that a superheroine can do.
Yeah, exactly. All right, good. And then what about? Yeah, sorry.
No, just continue with the other category that you were going to mention.
Yep.
What about versatility and a superheroine?
Versatility and a superheroine. The first thing I think of is all of the different superpowers. Oops, I'm over here. All of the different superpowers that a superheroine could have, right? A versatile powers there.
Yeah, that person that could be in different places. In different places at the same time. Be in different locations, etc.
Good. I'm sure a superheroine can multitask well.
Exactly. Also
versatile. Good. Stability, waterproof. All right, good. We got some good ideas from the chat as well. Okay. Well, what do you think, Walter? Do you think we have enough ideas to keep us going? Good.
Yeah, it's really good. I will see what we have right in the table. Let's move on.
All right, perfect. So let's say that we have our table completed. We got some good ideas. So now kind of what we can do is we can stick with, or we can take out those ideas that maybe have a little bit more value than others in each case. Okay, so remember, our idea was to design a new seating space for our client. So with these ideas that we have here, kind of looking at all of this, what can we do? What do you all think? Let us know in the chat if you kind of remember we're imagining, we're envisioning this new seating space for our client with these ideas, an innovative seating space.
Exactly. There is a lot of ideas that we can use that can lead us to think about how to solve the problem of a customer. This is the main thing that we can have with this technique.
All right, good. So I think we can think of a lot of different ideas, right, that can lead us to think about how we can solve this problem. So let's say, for example, we could make some furniture.
Yep, that could be adaptable to different environments or spaces.
Perfect. Probably we want this furniture to be resistant.
Yeah, exactly. And also we can change the color of the furniture. Yeah, it's a great idea.
Cool. I like it. I think this was a really great brainstorming session, a really way to kind of think outside of the box. So imagine we came up with those ideas. We kind of really thought outside of the box there. So now we would move on to the next phase of design thinking to work more at this idea, right? Awesome. So now, as well, just to let you know, Genially doesn't only allow us to work within design thinking. We can also use interactivity to complete this information. So, for example, we have these icons, these squares for more information that we haven't done anything with yet, right? So let's use one of them. We are going to turn this into an interactive layer. So what we're going to do is here, click on this icon for interactivity, and we're going to use a tooltip. So this is an interactive element that appears when we hover the mouse over it, or if you're on a touchscreen device, if you hover your finger over it. And within this tooltip, we're going to insert a video. So let's add the video of this webinar that we are watching now. Sound good? We are going to paste the URL. So I'm going to erase this text. I'm going here to insert video, paste the URL, and this is the URL of the YouTube video, the webinar that we're watching right now. So this way, our video will be visible directly within our Genially, and we will have our whole process found there all together in the same space. Okay, so this webinar that you're watching now is being recorded. You will be able to watch it back later with the same link that we're seeing now. Okay. So perfect, let's save that. And now I'm gonna move this over here, make it a little bit bigger. Now this is just purely aesthetics, really. And I'm just going to very quickly Control select the rest of these elements since I'm not using them, and I'm going to delete them. And there, I think we have everything ready. Walter, what do you think?
Yeah, it looks really great. This gives us a really good one group the ideas to work with. I think it's genial.
Perfect. Now, if you're watching us live and you haven't done so yet, feel free to put any questions that you have in the chat so that we can answer them now. If you're watching the recording later, or you're watching us live but some new doubts come up at another time, you can always use our hashtag #AskGenially on social media and we will help you. So now just back to the editor here. Once we finished our creation, so I think we have it exactly how we like it, we just have to click on All Set to publish it and share it with the world. So I'm going to share it publicly. We have our title, perfect. And we can share it directly with a link. I'm actually going to copy and paste this link in the chat right now. But let me just show you some other options. If you wanted to, you could just copy this iframe code and embed this Genially within your blog, within your website, or within your LMS. You can send it via email, share it on social media, or if you use Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, you can also share it directly there as well. So I'm going to just paste the link in the chat. There you go. So now you all have access to that creation that we just made, and you can think about what kind of furniture we can create for our clients. All right, so now I'm going to go back to our Genially here. Perfect. Let's see. All right. So we hope that you have enjoyed this webinar in which we've seen how we can move closer to a thought process based on design, which is user-centered, in order to really achieve innovative solutions, and how Genially is a useful tool in this process. Now, as always, we are going to have a prize draw for a pro plan among those of you who registered for the webinar in advance, and we will be in contact with the lucky winner by email. If you didn't register in advance, we are going to put the link in the chat so that you can do that now and you have the chance to participate. So good luck. If you don't win, don't worry. All of you who are watching us now can use this discount code for 20% off your pro plan. And this code will be active for a few days. So now is really the time to take advantage and unleash your creativity. Now, I'll leave this code up for a couple minutes. I'm going to check the chat and see if there are any questions that Walter and I can answer for you now. So let me have a look. Okay, Monica. So yes, even if you have the free version of Genially, just like I did here, I sent that link. You can send the link and share your creations with anyone. Let's see. Gosh. We still have ideas coming in for our dragon.
Oh, great.
Okay. Let me just see. Good, lots of ideas. Okay. All right. Looks like we don't have too many questions, or the questions that have been asked throughout the webinar, my colleagues have been answering them. So it looks like everything is answered. Good, I have a comment about how visual thinking is so powerful to showcase, to also check and assess learning. We definitely agree with you there. We are big fans of visual thinking, using visual metaphors.
Great.
Let's see. Okay, so it looks like everything more or less has been answered by my colleagues. If you all wrote down the code, perfect. So then we've gotten to the end of the webinar. We invite all of you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can really be up to date with all of the different webinars that we're doing, as well as all the other awesome content that we share with you. We've answered your questions. Of course, as I mentioned before, if you do have any lingering doubts, feel free to send them to us on social media with the hashtag #AskGenially. Okay, so here we go. I am going to stop sharing my screen so you can see us. All right, good. Perfect. So I just want to, first of all, thank you, Walter, for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us, giving us some great ideas that we can, I think, really incorporate into our day-to-day lives.
Well, thank you to you, Brenna, and Genially for this opportunity. And well, have a really nice day.
Great. And thank you to all of you who have joined us, those of you watching us live, and those of you watching the recording. We will see you at our next webinar. So have a great day, everyone. Bye.